The Starship Enterprise has landed in Australia and beaming in from Star Trek The Exhibit. Please welcome Dr. Beverly Crusher, or on Earth as we know her, Gates McFadden. Gates McFadden, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
That is a very, very impressive entrance, Gates.
Well, thank you very much. I've done it before, this one.
Several times, I'm sure. Is sort of the transporter system your preferred mode of transport?
Oh, it's much quicker than the Qantas flight. Even though Qantas was wonderful, this is definitely the way to go.
Well, as I mentioned, you're here for a Star Trek exhibition. Being part of history, were you in Star Trek tradition, were you the first female doctor on board the Enterprise?
I believe I was. I was also the first commanding officer who also was a mother. We had, I had my son, who was a member also of the ensemble. Will Wheaton played my son, Wesley Crusher, and that was a first. The family, the children lived on board the Enterprise, which was very different from the original series.
Very exciting times. Now, you're walking us through. We've gone from the transporter room. What's your location now?
Now I'm at, we're into a little bit of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This is Quark's bar, and we have, as you see, we have a Klingon over here, and we have, yes, a Bajoran, who is like the Bajoran on DS9. We have all of the things that you'll find in Quark's bar, and there's, of course, one of the Ferengi heads, which we always thought looked a bit like a, well, I think you know what I mean.
A bit shiny and not a lot of cellulite either. And he's an attractive-looking creature there.
Isn't he, though? Now, Michael Westmore, of course, was the genius who kept making all of these creatures up week after week, which was really amazing because you consider I've done it 10 years now, and there's 3 shows, so he's kept rather busy. But he comes up with all of these. Oh my gosh! Don't look now, but.
Oh, the Borg.
Absolutely. Let me just make an adjustment quickly because they can be rather dangerous, but as a doctor I know what I can do to sort of defuse them here. If only this worked. It doesn't, of course, as you noticed from first contact. But now here, this I can speak about. This is my medical kit. Yes, I would kiss it if I could reach in, but I can't. That's seen quite a few years on this series. The little hypo spray was in that. And this was Dr. McCoy's kit, so you can see that certainly the female had to carry the much heavier one, I will say that.
And of course the more advanced one as well, because it was 80 years between Star Trek and The Next Generation.
Well, it was either that or they thought I had to have a little makeup kit, I'm not sure. You know, put it in with the, no, I don't think so.
Do you think on The Next Generation chauvinism was still alive and kicking?
Well, it was a lot better, let's put it that way. It was a lot better. We're getting there. I thought it was nice. We had, this was our tricorder, and that was the science tricorder, and all of that was really interesting. You know, we'd always have to just, we would pretend to hit the buttons, and actually they'd have batteries that would make it blink, but you had to touch it in the right place to make the batteries go on. And so always we would have those takes where the battery would go dead. It would be your best take, but the battery would go dead. So that's the same old story, I'm sure.
Working on Star Trek, The Whole Next Generation, a very powerful package. It was not just another television series. There were languages, there were ethics, there were cultural boundaries. How seriously did actors in it really take it?
I'm sorry, how seriously what? How
seriously did the actors in fact take the manual of being in Star Trek?
Well, I think we all started off not knowing what we were into. There were a few of the cast who were fans of the first Star Trek, but I was a neophyte. And as we did it, I mean, we used to sort of be very irreverent on the set. We had a good time. There was a lot of Monty Python antics. But when we would film, we'd take it quite seriously, of course, because there was a wonderful philosophy in the show. The prime directive, I think, is a sensational concept, and for those of you who know the show. And I think that we started to realize, especially after about the 3rd year, what impact it had, that it was reaching over 100 countries in the world, and that was really quite extraordinary. Here you have some of the, some other kits and tricorders, and you might look at how the original one from the original show is absolutely brilliant. I mean, the detail is astonishing. And for a television show done so long ago, that's something you could really, you know, want to have on your living room table more than some of the ones we had, because the lighting was much more inside. They had a lot of battery things, and they had special effects, so they could put a lot of the effects on afterwards more easily than some of the state of special effects during the first show.
Of course, their work was just perfect. Now, when do we get to where the control ship, the part of the Starship Enterprise, where everything was run from?
Well, that's right. You mean the captain's chair?
Yes.
Well, wouldn't you know, it's right here. And
in fact, you've sat on the captain's lap a few times, Dr. Crusher.
well, no, not exactly. Have I? I've sat in the captain's chair a few times. I don't know about sitting in his lap.
Well,
I've wanted to, of course.
But you had this little romance going with Jean-Luc Picard. Tell me.
did. I did. Oh, Jean-Luc is easy to love, isn't he? Well, we did. We sort of had a romance that was kept on and off through the entire shooting of the series, and it was a lot of fun, actually. We would often do little things that they would snip out because they thought, oh well, we can't go that far. But we had a good time. There was a good chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a wonderful actor. He's been in Australia recently. So just give us the tour of the deck there.
So this is not The Next Generation, but this is the original Star Trek. This is Captain Kirk's seat, and it's really, again, the detail is quite beautiful, and it's reminiscent of ours. Here you see a captain sitting right there in the chair for you. Ours was more of a semicircle, and you see all of the panels, and there'd be lights that would move behind the panels. You probably had the control, you had different people shouting out commands. Ours, we had a sort of walkway, and I remember my little boy used to, well, he was just learning how to walk. I had him while I was doing the show, and he used to run. He thought it was his special playroom. He used to run up and down on the bridge. And when the bridge got destroyed, he was very upset because he really thought it was happening.
But and I hear all the sound effects in the background as well. We remember them well.
They're absolutely great. And then in here, we have the Klingon world, which is really
Did you ever
one
get
of
to
the
speak
most popular
Klingon?
ones.
It's a language all on its own.
That's right, that's right. I don't actually have anything I can say in Klingon, but here you have some of the wonderful costumes that throughout the year Bill Tice and Bob Blackman have done for years.
Beautiful work.
Costuming all the aliens.
Now, Gates, tell me, how many of these conferences and conventions do you regularly do?
I just do maybe 2 a year. Sometimes I haven't done any during the years. It depends. I would say there are some people who do them practically every weekend. But with my family, I have things like driving to the soccer game and art class and music class and things like that, so I can't really get away as much. But I'm going to be doing one this Sunday in Sydney, and I enjoy them very much. The fans are lovely.
Well, as an actor, because you started on Broadway and you sort of virtually went from Broadway to the Starship Enterprise, did you ever imagine that would be a case professionally?
No, not at all. It was the last thing I ever expected. I never thought I would do 10 years of television, let alone something that was such a popular show. It was very amazing. I think I've worked with Jim Henson and I've worked with Gene Roddenberry, and they certainly are two of the geniuses of our time in terms of imagination and different projects on television, and are very much a part of our culture. So I've been very lucky in that way. Never thought it would happen, no.
Well, we really appreciate your time walking us through the Starship Enterprise and the various eras of Star Trek.
My pleasure.
We thank you very much. We must remind everyone the Star Trek, the exhibit is at Sydney's Powerhouse Museum. That's from tomorrow. Details up on your screen there. And we had a few little we had our own Star Trek interference coming from Deep Space Nine, ladies and gentlemen. But please thank from Powerhouse Museum, Gates McFadden and/or Dr. Beverly Crusher. Thank you, Gates. Bye.
Thank you.